Welcome all to the Politics of Cinema. On this particular show, we believe that films are never neutral. There's a political as well as artistic message captured in each and every film, sometimes on accident, sometimes on purpose. Either way, we're on the lookout for all of it. My name is Aaron Spears.
And my name is Isaac Miller. And this time after this episode, after a bit of a hiatus, it's been a sort of a crazy month for all of us, and so episodes have slowed down, but we're going to try to get back on track in May. But on this episode, we're checking in with our third watch challenge a little bit late, and also set up one for the next month.
Absolutely. So let's just jump in. Watch challenge. This is number 3 we've been doing these month to month. We had a few different topics we wanted to cinematically explore. Eco-apocalypse, a ninja film, pay attention to a commentary track, like listen to a commentary track. It used to be the staple of the bonus features on DVDs and Blu-rays. And then also as a bonus, wanted to try listening to a film score before watching the film. Should we just jump in and do these in order, Isaac?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we did our Eco-apocalypse double feature with No Blade of Grass and Princess Mononoke. But that was a genre I was really eager to keep going and to watch something else from that genre as well. So that was sort of the reason for this particular watch challenge this month. What else did you watch, Isaac, from the Eco-apocalypse genre?
Well, to be totally honest, that was what I watched. It's been sort of an unfocused month for me, so I ended up sort of cheating and using the actual podcast episodes. It is, I enjoy my Soylent Greens. I enjoy my Logan's Run. I mean, if that's an eco-apocalypse, I think it's just a 70s apocalypse movie in a way. I have watched The Road and think it is a good film.
Yeah.
Note the language there. But I didn't dig in any deeper. I mean, obviously, all Mad Max movies make me very happy, and I think those fit.
Yeah.
But I put a lot of, I mean, as you can tell, that was an episode where I talked a lot. Put a lot into that.
Yeah.
And I sort of put everything I had into that.
Gotcha.
I mean, the closest thing I watched was a different type of post-apocalyptic movie, which is Robo-Jocks, but that's actually just about the Cold War, so it doesn't count.
I had a couple that were apocalypse adjacent, or no, that is an apocalypse story. But yeah, they weren't. I kept going like, oh, that isn't specifically eco-apocalypse. Like I watched finally, I think it was a British film called Threads, that is horrific, a horrific movie, and emotionally crippling to watch. But it's about a man-made apocalypse because atomic bombs are dropped again, this time in the 1980s, on planet Earth, and then everyone suffers radiation poisoning. Not an eco-apocalypse, though. Well, one of the reasons we've been delayed in getting episodes out is we're in the middle of the Cleveland International Film Festival, and I've been doing a lot of podcasting for them on the side, and then also watching the films that are there. And one of them actually is a legit eco-apocalypse film that couldn't be more timely, so I could see this turning some viewers off. Like, I don't want to watch that. But it is called The Pink Cloud. It is from Brazil. So it's contemporary. It came out. It's a 2021 release. Directed by Luli Gerbes. I'm probably mispronouncing her last name. Apologies. It's a really simple premise that you're maybe going to get a little bit of a parallel to the real world situation here, Isaac. When a deadly pink cloud mysteriously takes over their city, 2 people who have just met are forced to seek shelter with only each other for company. As the months pass and turn into years, they're all trapped inside because 10 seconds exposure to the pink cloud will kill you.
That doesn't sound like it's topical at all.
Yeah. So it was written, directed, and shot. There's a little opening credits before the movie saying that it was written, directed, and shot in like 2019, and then they were editing it in 2020. So technically, it was written and filmed before the current situation, but it is so on point with what people isolated mentally, how that's going to work. Everything turns into screens, mediate your existence between other humans when there's only 2 of you there. But since it stretches out over, I think the whole thing takes place over maybe like 10 or 11 years. Once you settle into it, once this is the new normal, once this is life, do you procreate? Like, do you worry about bringing new generations into this kind of an existence? It's a really interesting movie with a lot of existential dread, speaking to our current time period. I thought it was fantastic. It's a very intimate movie. It's really only 3 characters. throughout like the whole movie, but it really dives into mentally what people have been going through. In a way, it could make it. I could spin it optimistically and say, well, at least it's not as bad as the movie, our current situation.
Yeah, that doesn't help too much.
But yeah, no. But it's they don't ever tell you why these pink clouds appear. It is a I feel like it is an eco-apocalypse movie because it does seem to be like the natural world itself is responding to what humankind is doing to the planet. It's not overtly saying, oh, this is an environmental alarm kind of movie, but it's not a man-made poison cloud. It's over the whole Earth, so everybody's affected by this. But I thought it's a nice little hook for a very intimate, low budget eco-apocalypse. I don't want to say the word thriller because it's not that kind of a movie. It's more of an intimate like chamber drama, but all set around one apartment during an eco-apocalypse.
Well, yeah, I'm going to have to check that out. I have still not really started to dig into current movies. And that's, it's starting to get a little silly right now. I think maybe, all right, this weekend I'm getting my second shot. And after that, I have no excuse. I haven't even watched Nomadland yet. This is not great.
I mean, the thing we were saying, though, and I think it's been on previous episodes, was not that, like, we can rent most stuff from the privacy of our own home. So there isn't a worry of, like, heading out. I don't have to necessarily go out to the movies. I could still been supporting local art house theaters, local nonprofit theaters with patronage via the internet. I obviously would like to get back to on the big screen kind of stuff, but it's the topical nature of stuff that is set nowadays, but either it directly addresses the pandemic or totally ignores it. Like, I don't like either of those decisions right now.
Right.
Yeah. Speaking of something that's as far removed from the pandemic as possible, one of the other categories was a ninja film.
Ninja film. So this was your idea. What brought this out?
Ah, damn it. I was just going to ask you that. Why did we pick this as a genre? I think it was, I was listening to a podcast that was going into the history of canon films. Like, I've seen the documentaries, like Electric Boogaloo. There was a couple documentaries actually about canon films and Canon Film Group and what they were doing from, what did they start off, like late 60s, 70s to 80s being their heyday, the straight to video market. And a huge chunk of that are ninja films. And I think that's where my brain was when we made up the list a month ago.
Well, there we go. Here's the thing. Trying to understand the cultural enigma that is the 1980s.
Yeah.
I think that ninja films, and I am bullshitting, let's be clear. I think that ninja films are an important part of that puzzle.
Well, you've also made a good case for vampire films too.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I actually think the vampire things, I'm not sure what they say about the 80s so much as the vampire genre being an eternal genre. And
nice.
It wasn't even a joke. And how different decades deal with them is interesting. Whereas the ninja craze, here's where actually it would have been interesting, and maybe we'll have to do this later.
What's that?
Is the ninja craze plus Japan panic.
Mm-hmm.
Because basically the ninja craze probably overlaps with the Japan panic, but the bulk of the Japan panic is... No, I think they overlap. They straight up overlap.
Yeah.
And so, like, what is going on here? What is going on with the United States and, like, Japan? They're really cool and we kind of want to be them. Also, they're taking our jobs.
Yeah.
And, are these two sides of the same coin in a sense? Is there something more to the whitewashing in 80s ninja films than just regular Hollywood whitewashing? Probably not. But maybe there is. Or maybe we can just pull it out and say that that's actually what's happening, even though it's kind of bullshit.
Yeah. That is a good question. And it feels, like you said, is very complicated and multifaceted because there's definitely the panic within the labor force, but also that's reflected in some very odd ways in movies. But it's also, I think that's the premise of the show and what we're doing here. Like the way that the lens that we're looking at films throughout different countries, throughout different eras with is, the ninja films of the 80s are saying something about, American culture and its reaction to, what is it, like the rise of, what was the labor force scare that they were taking American jobs?
Well, I mean,
within America, or it was just, because I remember it being like a fetishization almost of just like Japanese electronic devices coming in through the 80s.
Well, I mean, that starts even in the 60s or maybe the 50s even. But I think it's not just a taking their jobs. Yes, it is part of deindustrialization and the panic, and the Japanese are going to overtake us industrially. But it's not just a labor force thing. It's in everything, right? I mean, our they going to take our place as the global powerhouse, right? Their economy is
Okay.
more dynamic. What's ironic is by the mid to late 80s, like the Japanese economy is in serious trouble. They have a massive real estate bubble, and in some ways, they've never recovered from it. But nonetheless, yeah, it's a full spectrum thing. So the labor element of it is just one element. I mean, we're in a sense we're running into it again today with China, except that with China it's actually much more real
Mm-hmm.
because in the sense that China is actually a competitor in a sense for global hegemony, probably in the long run, and is politically independent from the United States, whereas Japan has never been. Right in the post-war period, Japan is a deep ally, if not sort of, well, let's just say it's part of the U.S.'s imperial ambit, if we put it that way.
Okay. And then there's ninja films.
And then there's ninja films. Let's just get back to
Yeah.
that. So, like,
Right.
yeah, the ninja. I mean, the ninja thing. I did a little bit of reading. It doesn't. I mean, definitely Japan has had its sort of ninja cultural moments, but it's not actually a huge genre there in the same way. So I know that the big moment, breakout moment for ninjas is in one of the James Bond movies. I don't remember which one. I'm not a huge James Bond person. Like in the 60s, and then it sort of builds in the 70s and then sort of explodes in the 80s. But I think a lot of this is actually being brought in from Hong Kong as opposed to Japan,
Yeah, I think you're right.
which is interesting in itself. I mean, you can watch. I rewatched Mafia versus Ninja, which is a amazing. It's on YouTube. Amazingly hilarious kung fu movie where they're trying to prevent the Japanese from selling drugs in Shanghai. But like you can see it there, right? Like there's a lot of
Yeah.
sort of kung fu versus ninja stuff, which some of it's
Okay.
really, something like, let's say, I mean, this is later, right? This is after the crazes started here, but Ninja in the Dragon's Den, which is actually a great kung fu movie, but it's like your ninja versus kung fu master movie or something, which is
Okay.
fun because it's just different kinds of martial arts and different styles.
Mm-hmm. Well, what was the ninja film that was your pick that you watched this month?
So I'm going to highlight two.
Okay.
They are part of the venerable, and by venerable I mean overall complete schlock ninja trilogy or whatever. So Enter the Ninja from 1981, which sort of sets off the craze in the West, or in the US at least.
The first martial art to sweep the modern world was Jiu-Jitsu, closely followed by the discipline of karate. Then we were taught to combine the spiritual with the physical by the masters of Kung Fu. And now, the Cannon Group is proud to introduce the practitioner of the oldest and ultimate martial art, the ninja. Enter the ninja.
This gold is your license as a master of ninjutsu.
Starring Franco Nero. Exploding into action as Cole, the White Ninja.
Give him a message for me.
Yeah?
I don't like to be followed.
I love it here. It's become my home. And nobody is going to drive us away.
Susan George is the proud and beautiful Mary Ann, a strong-willed woman who knows what she wants and just how to get it. And introducing Sho Kosugi,
Kampai! Kampai.
Hasegawa, the Black Ninja, born of samurai blood, is unable to accept anything but the ancient ways.
You did not drink, Hasegawa.
He is no ninja.
It's a lamb code. They want to take it away from us.
Bitter and merciless, this rogue ninja will stop at nothing to destroy any and all who cross his path. Ninja, hired assassins, trained killers, masters of the most deadly art known to man.
Starring Franco Nero as a ninja. So part of it is, you got to remember, these are going to be heavily whitewashed. Sho Kasagi, I might be saying that wrong, who is, if you're a big martial arts movie fan, you know him. He's in all of these. He's sort of like, and he gets to be the hero sometimes, right? Like he's not always the villain. So he does get to star in some of them. Not all of it's totally whitewashed. But by and large, these movies are going to be whitewashed. And in this case, yes, it's Franco Nero, star, Euro star, star of some of the great spaghetti westerns, as well as a lot of other movies. He is not a ninja. He's a decently in shape 40-something-year-old in this film.
I don't know. On the poster, he's being a ninja on the poster.
Yeah, and it's really convenient when his mask gets on when you need to do flips. Like, this is not Hong Kong. Like,
Yeah.
It's bad. And I think a lot of people like it because it's a classic or because it's fun to watch. I think it kind of drags eventually. It's pretty ridiculous. And not only that, he's an ex-mercenary who's trained to be a ninja and then, is not accepted by the star Japanese pupil at the ninja dojo because he shows him up. And then he goes and visits his friends in the Philippines who own a plantation, but they're nice plantation owners.
Okay.
I'm not actually on there. I mean, mind you, they're going up against a bigger capitalist who wants to take their land, and that's the actual villain, or take the land their plantation is on for like real estate speculation or something. But here's the thing: is this? I'm not on any of these people's sides. Fuck them. There's some interesting sort of like colonial politics here, where you have the Western ninja who's taken on the ancient arts, backing up functionally his colonial capitalist like buddies who are, where did they get the money for what they're doing, or what were their careers before this? They were mercenaries in some unspecified war in Africa, but I'm sure they were on the side of the angels. It is wrapped up in all sorts of horrific politics, and that in itself, when you start to pick at it, actually makes it interesting as a time capsule of its time.
Right.
But am I actually on the side of the good guys, quote unquote? Well, yeah. What it does set up is, I don't know if it's the first one that does this. Probably it's not. I'm sure if you work through your kung fu movies, you can find this trope too. But yes, the Western ninja who shows up, the resentful, like xenophobic star pupil Japanese ninja, is something. It'll show up in a very latter day white ninja movie like Scott Adkins' Ninja and Ninja 2. Shadow of a Tear.
Love that title.
It's incredible. And here's the thing is like, we can sort of complain about the whitewashing, but when it's Scott Adkins, they're really good. Like, the action will be incredible.
Right.
And Ninja 2 is very highly, Shadow of a Tear is very highly regarded as an action movie.
Yeah.
All of this, me just going all over the place. Okay, so my first one is that interesting
politics.
politics.
Well, hold on.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned that one, and this was, since we don't really necessarily plan out what we're watching here, I watched the sequel to that one, which is Revenge of the Ninja.
The ninja, the perfect assassin. The greatest ninja warrior vows to give up killing.
My sword is sealed forever.
But a ninja cannot escape his destiny. It will follow him from the gardens of Japan to the streets of America.
Get those people out of here.
The heroin spilled out.
Damn it!
He's caught in a drug war between the American mafia and the Japanese yakuza.
Are you trying to tell me there's ninjas running around there killing people in the 20th century?
Which has Sho Katsuji in it as well. He's in all three of the what do they keep calling him here? The Ninja Trilogy anthology series that Canon put out. Different characters though, which is interesting. And I wanted to highlight something from the second one because I don't know if it pops up in that first one. It sounds like it may have a little bit, but it's another drug scheme. It's the idea of, in this one, Sho's character, Kane, no, Cho is his name. His son is Kane. So you have a little kid ninja in this too, which is awesome because he kicks ass in several scenes. He comes to America to start a new life after his whole family, including I think it was his fiance or possibly his newlywed wife, are all murdered by ninjas in Japan. But then his longtime friend convinces him to open up this doll shop. So he's importing Japanese dolls to sell. I think it's in San Francisco. Anyway, some major, metropolis kind of area in America. But inside those dolls is heroin. So he's unwittingly importing heroin for his friend. And then that sets up the final showdown.
So he gets to be the good guy in this.
Yeah, he does. But again, though, a lot of use of mask because like the main villain in this one, I forget the actor's name, but he has to put on a mask when they have their final showdown because he clearly, this is the white Western character. He obviously does not have the ninja skills. And I it's weird though, because he's clearly not there for his acting skills either, be that as it may. it involves. I feel like the whole drug trade is like an underlying easy villain element to a lot of ninja films from the 80s.
I mean, or just movies from the 80s.
Or it's movies from the 80s, yeah. So,
I mean, I think so. It's cool. So basically, yeah, by the second one, he's enough of a hit, and he's the guy you can get for these movies that actually knows ninjutsu that he gets to star.
oh, and he's clearly like the actual skills level star in this one because, like, oh my god, the main villain here is just like, I can't do this. His son, the kid who plays his son, Kane, he's fantastic too. He has some great kung fu scenes with adults.
It's not kung fu; it's ninjutsu.
Or great ninjutsu skills with adults. Like he kicks some adult ass, which is pretty fun to watch.
You got it. You can't get these mixed up. These are very different.
Yeah,
Well, it's funny because in Mafia versus Ninja, they totally just refer to all martial arts as kung fu, because they're lazy enough that they just don't care.
right. And I'm not sure these films actually respect the art anyway, so I'm kind of just using the language that I think I heard in the movie.
They don't care. I mean, this is
They don't care.
So, funnily enough, my second one was the third movie in this trilogy.
He is the most feared and powerful warrior. A ninja who breaks from ancient tradition and explodes onto America. His soul possesses the body of an innocent woman and transforms her into a lethal assassin.
Which also involves Kusagi as a good guy, showing up as the mysterious ninja to help fight the evil ninja. The evil ninja who starts the movie by murdering lots and lots and lots of basically LA cops, which is not the worst thing you could do. Anyway, sorry.
It's a good hook.
It's a good hook. He takes out helicopters. He's basically invincible. And then when the cops, like, literally, they have to shoot him hundreds of times to take him down because ninjas are magic by this point. I mean, this is a movie that basically rips off of, there's a little bit of Poltergeist in it, probably a little bit of, a 70s, like, possession movie.
Oh, this is the possession one you were texting me about.
Yes, this is a possession
one.
one.
Yeah, okay. I gotta watch this one.
And then as he's dying, woman, aerobics instructor slash she works on telephone lines as well. That's, I think, her main job.
Amazing. Okay, so you got balancing and you got your acrobatic skills. Okay, yeah.
I mean,
ready to be a ninja.
She's in good shape, right? Like, she can do this. Basically, she how do I put this? So she's trying to help him. Like, she finds him dying, and instead he possesses her. And that so he can wipe out all the cops who are responsible for his death. And
this sounds like I wish I would have watched this one now.
Oh, it
sounds like a lot of fun.
It's so good. It's really ridiculous. And then meanwhile, her romantic interest is one of the cops.
Of course it is.
Who she basically at the beginning of the movie just says "a cab," right? Like, I'm not dating a cop, and the guy will not give up. And eventually, she sleeps with him in the most awkward sex scene. I don't think, like, pouring, like, canned soup on somebody is hot. Anyway.
Oh, that happens?
I think it's canned soup. I can't remember. She pours something on him. It's very weird.
Not my thing either. All right.
Anyway. We've all got our things, and I don't want to disrespect anybody, but, like, So, but part of it is, it's like, I was really looking forward to her, like, telling this asshole to fuck off and to keep doing it through the whole movie, and she doesn't, and they hook up.
I thought you were going to set it up. I thought what you were saying, the plot setup was that, like, that's the cop she has to take out because that's the one who, like, finally offed Kashugi.
No, it's not Kashugi. It's not Kashugi. There's a different ninja. Kashugi shows up as the good ninja who's hunting down the bad ninja for revenge, because in Japan this guy killed him.
Okay.
And Kashugi basically is there. Part of the problem is this. They take her to a Japanese medium to figure out what's going on with her because she seems to be possessed. They figure out that there's something wrong here. And basically it turns out that a ninja spirit is way too powerful, right? Like, this is like a serious poltergeist situation. And he can't do anything about it. And in fact, he's totally freaked out. Like, only a ninja can defeat a ninja. Like, this is ninjas as total, like, superhuman, like, mystical creatures.
Yeah.
And so
Oh, so you're saying like an exorcism's not going to work because the ninja power is too strong?
Yeah, only another ninja can do an exorcism on a ninja. Right? Right.
Love it.
It's so good. So Sho shows up. There's an epic battle. It's really wild. There's a minor earthquake, and eventually the white people are safe, and Sho gets his revenge, and that's great.
Oh, whew. Okay, good. We settled that.
I'm sure outside of all cops are bastards, there is some political subtext here, but I was too distracted by
the ninja possession plot.
Yeah, I just couldn't really. Yeah. Look, sometimes the film gods give you something beautiful, and it may not look beautiful on the outside, but on the inside, it's special.
That's where it's at. All right, I have to cue that one up. As soon as this festival's over, I'm gonna have to go for Ninja 3. Wait, is there like a subtitle for that one, like Shadow of the Tier, or like what's the?
I mean, nothing's gonna beat Shadow of A Tier.
Shadow of A Tier, my bad.
But that's no.
Ninja 3, The Domination.
Oh, The Domination, right? Okay.
And it's a different director, I think, than the first two.
Sam first. No, I think it's the same director all the way through.
No, the first one. Okay.
Oh, he didn't do the first one. Sorry. Yeah, it's Sam Fistenberg. Yeah, did Revenge and Ninja 3. Wow, that's I have to get on that one.
Well, so Sam Fistenberg did a lot of these. I mean, he does Revenge of the Ninja.
Oh, yeah, he's one of the Canon Films ninja directors.
Okay, so here's the problem we've got here. Is the trilogy we're dealing with? No, Revenge of the Ninja is the second one. Okay, yeah.
Right,
so
right.
he does like the first couple American Ninja ones, which I'm not stooping that low. Somebody's
did when I was a kid. I remember renting those, getting those from the library because like I went through a ninja phase.
Who did?
And was watching all those shitty ninja movies.
Were they any good?
Yeah. I mean, when I was like 8 and I thought I was going to be a ninja when I grew up as a thing, it was like, these are awesome. I'm guessing if I revisited them, not so much, but time will tell. Maybe I'll do like revisit American Ninja and then do Ninja 3 just as the cherry on top for the evening.
So, the one thing I'll say about this, actually, all right, so politics of Ninja 3, The Domination, outside of the cops are bastards, I mean, obviously is the total exotization of Japanese culture, which is what a lot of this is about, right?
Yeah.
We've dealt with some of these themes, for instance, when we covered our Christmas special on Gremlins, and I think we were saying, at some point, combining this with the Japan panic of the 80s in terms of like Japan's both our fascination with the United States' fascination with ninjas combined with our panic over them taking over our economy and all of the Orientalist and racist bullshit that flows from that would be interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, this just takes the exotization to like a new level of splice with Poltergeist. So,
Well, yeah, it's also, I mean, one of the things Canon as a company was very good at was like kind of reading, what do you call it? Like trying to predict the future, reading the tea leaves, whatever you want to call it, to be like, oh, what's hot right now? Oh, this is hot. What about, okay, Poltergeist is making money. What if we crossed it with the ninja movie? Like the high concept idea of how they would pitch stories, come up with stories and then, sell them before that, almost had that Roger Corman style where it's going to sell the concept with like a poster and a quick synopsis. And you get a lot of really weird high concept stuff. Like what if there's a ninja movie with a possession movie right now? So one of the things that we're missing out on, Isaac, in watching these ninja films, I'm assuming you're watching stuff streaming because I found a bunch of ninja options on, streaming services. There's no commentary tracks on any of these ninja films, which actually could be kind of potentially fascinating to listen to. We had a challenge of listening to a commentary track. For some reason, I put one on. I think you mentioned when we were talking about Spike Lee on a previous watch challenge, Bamboozled, and he has really great commentary tracks. So I was like, oh, I'm going to actively go find a commentary track I haven't listened to before and enjoy a commentary track. Because in the age of streaming, I feel like that's one of those special features that is overlooked these days. I'm of the opinion that there is such a thing as a bad commentary track.
Oh, totally.
Where clearly like director, writers, producers, whoever, actors hit record and just sort of like reminisced or didn't really plan anything out. Like you the good ones you have to plan out. You have to really kind of hopefully think about it or get the right person involved with the project to hosted, or then I was like, oh wait, no, what if you actually had like a film critic do one, or like a film historian? And I was like, wait, okay, so if you have a film historian doing a commentary track, which is pretty prevalent around the Criterion Collection and certain DVD and Blu-ray labels, that's got to be a very deliberate and interesting commentary track, I would think. So I went back and listened to Roger Ebert did a commentary track on Citizen Kane. And it is one of those tracks. Actually, I believe it's on YouTube. If anybody wants to go play it and you just listen to it, you'd have to queue up the movie on your own. He is clearly prepared, and he's a fan, and he's enthusiastic, and he's eloquent. Like it's kind of a perfect storm of elements you'd want in a commentary track. Like I've seen that movie plenty of times, but I came away with it going like, I know even more now. Holy shit. Like he's got it all. And he clearly knew what he was doing recording it too. Like there isn't a moment, I don't think, wasted on that commentary.
So I have listened to that commentary track, and because I did a rewatch of Citizen Kane a couple of years ago, because I hadn't watched it since I was a teenager. And it's one of those ones where it's like, I would think we've probably said this on the podcast before, where it's like, oh yeah, it's that good, right? Like it's,
yeah,
it's not, nothing's exaggerated here. So, but part of what got me to appreciate it even more, I mean, I loved it when I watched it. It was incredible. But yeah, that is that is what a commentary track should do.
Right.
It really is. And it's one of the reasons why, yeah, sometimes I prefer it when it's not the filmmaker and when it's a scholar or a good critic. Because I think, as it's sort of, I mean, like the filmmakers can get lost in the minutiae and details, which is sometimes interesting and sometimes not. And I don't know, you're mentioning like a bad commentary track. I mean, I really should have loved the commentary track from Conan the Barbarian.
Sure. See previous episode on Conan for Isaac's appreciation of that film.
But, like John Milius is just like totally out of control and just how much he's in love with himself. And then Arnold basically just goes through the movie describing the scenes that we're watching.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
and the problem is he doesn't really listen. So he's sort of like Milius, who would actually be like would be insufferable, but kind of interesting, right? Like you're at least getting what Milius is trying to do here. It's just excruciating. Luckily, I didn't watch a movie like that. I had been meaning to watch the Wachowski sisters. I think it might be their first movie or just about their first movie, Bound.
Oh, Bound. Yeah.
Which is great, right? Like that is a superb movie. Great lesbian neo-noir of the 90s or 96. And there is a commentary track with them and a bunch of the actors. And it is great. They really get into filmmaking. They get into their choices. They get into one of the, I think the producers on who's sort of talking about sort of the interactions with sort of lesbian culture in the 90s and, the importance of the film. I mean, it's just exactly what you want out of a commentary track. It's great.
Yeah.
For a great movie.
Absolutely. I haven't even thought about that movie in a while, so that'd be fun to go back and revisit.
It's just been on my list for like ages, right? Like I've just really, and then I just sort of like, okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this once and for all.
Yeah. Was that on like DVD?
Yeah, I got that from the library.
Okay, just checking. Because I'm interested if there's any like hidden avenues out there to find commentary tracks. It seems like it feels like a lost art because I'm someone who seeks it out. I was looking for lists on Letterboxd if people had posted like, oh, my favorite commentary tracks. It seems a little sparse. I thought in the age of the internet and bootlegging, like somebody of you guys got to be just posting MP3 files somewhere, right? Of commentary tracks. And you can find, a few out there. Like I would put them on the same way I put on a podcast when I was doing, housework or yard work or whatever, riding my bike and listen to, throw in some headphones, go for a jog in the park and listen to Spike Lee's Inside Man commentary. Like it's for films that I've seen a lot, I could just pop those on and I'm like, okay, I know exactly what scene you're talking about. It turned into, I think in the DVD Blu-ray era, once it became like a quote unquote selling point to get it out there, it was just everybody recorded one. And I feel like that really diluted the art form too. Because people just, like I said, would just hit record and just yak about the movie. I'm like, no, I prepare something. Like let's do some insights here. Maybe watch the film a couple times and see what it jogs your memory. But now I feel like it's kind of getting to be a little bit of a lost special feature since we're not really in a physical media environment anymore. It's all streaming. Well, for our last selection, our last challenge this month, the bonus one was I've always curious. Well, not always, I guess it came to mind a few years ago. But like to get, because I love film scores, and since I've been partially working from home over the last year, I put on film scores as like my background because there's no lyrics to distract me. But like there's mood and there's ups and downs and there's it's a great time to just put on a list of film scores, and I'll know like, okay, once this is done, this is 4 hours long, I'll take a break and get some food. And I was like, well, I'm going to throw on a film score to a movie I've never seen before. And I wanted to get familiar with the score before I watched it to see if that enhanced my viewing pleasure at all. Did you end up doing this bonus challenge, Isaac?
So, no. I mean, to be totally honest, the closest thing to this, which is not a full score, is, this is lame. I mean, it's not lame, but it's like, oh, well, no kidding, Isaac. I just listened to the theme song from the Carbucci movie Compañeros by Morricone.
Oh, right.
Repeat, which is really one of his weaker efforts. It's a Zapata Western, but the song's great.
Song's good, yeah. So I'm a fan of the current series Westworld that has been airing on HBO. And so I thought, oh, the score in this is really... At first I was like, oh, this score really kind of has some like Game of Thrones vibes to it. And I look it up, and it's Ramin Djawadi, who's the composer on both of those scores. So I was like, okay, let me take a look at this guy and see what else he's done. He's done Iron Man, so he's in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He did the score for Pacific Rim. He's working with some very interesting directors through his career so far. So then I saw one of the films that he has scored that I had not seen was Safe House from 2012 with Denzel Washington and Ryan Reynolds. And in March, I was going through and purposely trying to watch some, I guess what some critics would call lesser Denzel films that I hadn't seen before. So I watched, so Safe House was on my list. So I was like, oh, I'll just pop on this soundtrack and, give it a listen a few times. So I played it through 3 or 4 times again while I was at work. So I wasn't really like fully actively listening, but enough of the themes, like my ear picked up. And as I was watching, I was like, oh, this, like, and so like, I knew like, oh, and then when you listen to it, you'd be like, oh, that's an action sequence. Okay. That's more contemplative. Okay. There's another action sequence. Like it's a thriller, international espionage kind of movie. And it does hit some of those beats. It's a really well done score though. And it really did heighten the viewing experience, I thought, because I was recognizing the musical cues. Like I knew like when a musical cue started up, it was a little bit kind of subdued. And I was like, oh no, wait, this one gets pretty jamming in about a minute. Well, it transitioned into an action scene. So it was a really interesting way to kind of have a sampling of the tone and the moods and the pace of the film. It's not quite reading the book, obviously, before you watch an adaptation of it on film, because like all the beats of the plot and what the character is going to do and what the whole plot is. This one, I was just kind of assuming based on the way the music was of what was going to be coming up next or what kind of scene it would be. And for the most part, you're right, because it's a thriller action movie. But it's an interesting experiment that I'm definitely going to try out again. I think I would like to do it for a current film, like before I go see it, fingers crossed, in a theater sometime this calendar year. Like actually purposely put on that score. Like I think Tenet would have been an interesting one because I am obsessed with that score right now, more so than the film. But that would have been an interesting one to like really sink my ears into before going and seeing the movie. Because it doesn't really ruin the movie. I think it actually really enhances it more than anything.
I wish that I had taken more time to deal with this particular subject. Because one, you have a lot of really good stuff here, and I'm a little embarrassed. I'm going to have to catch up.
Of what stuff?
Just in terms of soundtracks, it's like I have not been... I don't know, like, because I always notice the music. I always feel the music. I think it's really important to me, but it's not part of filmmaking that I've like taken time to master.
Well, I should also say too, for anybody just joining us for this particular episode, I am not a musician. I cannot play an instrument. I do not have the ear for music like that. I enjoy it, but like, like a mutual friend of ours right now is studying jazz composition in college. I'd be curious to have him try out this experiment just to see like, what does that do for a musician to get to know the score before they watch a film? I may have to email him and actually check on that and see if he wants to try that out. I don't know. It was just something that popped into my head where I was just like, that would be an interesting way to get into a movie without really knowing that much about the movie ahead of time. But anyway, it was kind of fun. And I definitely would, I would recommend that experiment to anybody who's going to watch something they haven't seen before. Just throw on the score and see what it does for you before you watch it. So should we do the topic for our next watch challenge now? As we're wrapping up here.
So everything's a little bit off right now. We're hopefully going to get back on sync, because usually we would be doing the watch challenge at the end of the month, and then we do it at the beginning of the next month, and it's all a month. Instead, we're doing this mid-month. We're finishing this mid-month, and we're beginning it mid-month. Nonetheless, we might try to get back on track by finishing up in a month and a half at the end of May. But what is May, right? May is this is a political podcast. I don't think it's any secret that I'm a socialist, and I can't speak for Aaron's own self-identifiers, but I think we're all anti-capitalist here.
Yeah, I would say that specifically.
And so next month, but specifically May Day, is the workers' holiday, right? Globally. Yeah. And it's a very big deal. And we're going to be doing working class movies and working class themes and how they're portrayed in film throughout the whole month. So which means that will be the theme for our watch challenge. And we hope people take part in it. So our watch challenge is going to be pick 3, maybe 4 if you want, but 3 minimum movies about labor. They can either be about the labor movement. They can be about the nature of work, the relationship between bosses and workers from 3 different decades. Now, it might be good to make them consecutive, but what we want to see is how these change through time.
Yeah.
And what politics that represents. So that is basically going to be our watch challenge. It can be any set of decades that you want in the history of film. They don't have to be consecutive, but we'd suggest it. And obviously, we'd love to hear from you what you choose.
Also, what we're going to do is check in at the beginning of each episode in May as to what we have been watching and what we're investigating cinematically ourselves, so that it's just sprinkled in throughout the month of May. Rather than having its own standalone episode where we're going through all the different movies there. Because it's a topic we want to kind of keep front and center at the top of the shows throughout all of May. Also, quick question though, Isaac, as you're envisioning this yourself for what you may or may not be watching, are you picturing keeping it within the United States of America, since that's sort of the labor force we're most familiar with and its history, or are you picturing yourself going international with some of your picks?
Good point. And I would say absolutely go international.
Yeah.
Totally go as international as you want, because the workers of the world need to unite, because, their chains are international as well.
I'm kind of curious because I was thinking of going international partly because I'm in the middle of the International Film Festival and I'm watching a ton of movies from all around the world that are just really fascinating and grabbing my attention in interesting ways. But I think if I would go international, I may want to keep it around the same time period. Like if I'm looking at like a film from the United States from maybe like mid 60s, check in with like a country in South America in the mid 60s, see what's going on there. Maybe check in with a Japanese film, just because we were talking about Japanese films when we were discussing the ninja stuff earlier. Maybe if I'm going international, I would keep it from the same time period to kind of take the temperature globally of what was going on in that time period. So it's a little bit of a build your own challenge around that topic for this next watch challenge.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of flexibility in there, but the big thing is celebrations of and portrayals of labor.
Yep. But on our next episode, we are going to jump back into, I forget what you called this double feature, Isaac. We're going to be looking at Society and the film They Live, classic John Carpenter one. What was your was it?
So these are both 80s horror movies, 80s reactions to the grueling Reagan Revolution action movies. And, I think that's really what both of them are about. But from different angles. They're both class struggle horror films.
That's what you said to me earlier, yes.
Right, in very different ways. And they're both really good, right? Like, I think, the 80s is often held up as sort of a glorious age of horror, but I think these are two of the shining lights of that period.
Interesting. I've been holding off on Society because I remember you brought that one to my attention last October when we were doing Art House Horror. And I don't think you said it fell into the Art House Horror category, but you were definitely recommending it, and I just didn't get to it. So I'm looking forward to that one. And then They Live, I'm looking forward to revisiting because I have not seen that one in quite a while. But before we do sign off for this particular episode, be sure to rate and review the show in whatever podcast app you are currently using. And if you do enjoy the show, tell a friend or 2 or 3 about it. We're up and running as well on the usual social media platforms, so give us a find there. We are posting stuff kind of ties in with the show, but also just other stuff that we're watching in general that we don't end up bringing up on the show. Those links are all in the show notes as well. But until next time, I am Aaron.
And I'm Isaac. And stay safe out there. It's going to be a hot summer. And, unfortunately, the work of the BLM movement is not done and won't be for probably a long time. We're starting to see the beginning of a new protest wave. We'll see if it explodes again, and we'll see you in the streets.